Edition of USOfficial.com webinars, which is sponsored by our longtime business partner, the New England Premiership, which many of you know as NEP. I would like to personally thank Sean Carey for supporting our referees, not only with today's webinar, but his and NEP overall commitment and continued support throughout the years, past several years. Before I turn over the event to the team, I want to thank Alan Kelly for the opportunity to share his vast knowledge and experience with us. In addition, we also want to acknowledge the hard work and dedication that goes into making this event possible. A special thank you to Kara, Kevin, Alex, and Tom. Without further delay, I leave you now with US Official webinar team, directors Kara and Kevin. Thank you again and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Levon. Next week, New England Premiership Thursday Seminar Series welcomes Kim Oberle, the former FIFA assistant referee and national referee coach. Kim's topic will be offside considerations, and given her decades of experience and the fact that she's an excellent clinician, this is definitely not one to be missed. Alan Kelly has been ranked as Ireland's #1 referee for many years and was the first awardee of the Players Football Association of Ireland Referee of the Year in 2006. Not to be underachieving, he won it 5 times after that. Given that his grandfather, Tim Kelly, was a League of Ireland referee, his dad, Pat, is a former FIFA referee and recently retired assessor, and his brother, Graham, is a current League of Ireland referee, we can safely say that it is in his blood. Appointed to the FIFA list in 2002, Alan was selected to the U17 European Championship semifinal match between France and Spain that year. In June 2003, he was assigned to his first UEFA Champions League match, Tirana versus Dinamo Tbilisi. He has refereed numerous League of Ireland matches, almost 100 international appointments, and was selected to the 2019 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Poland as a video assistant referee. Given that this is a small snapshot of a great and continuing career, I'd like to present to you MLS Cup Final Referee for 2016 and 2018, Alan Kelly. Alan?
Thanks, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. Kevin, I'd just like to say it's great when you can write your own Wikipedia page, isn't it? Kevin and Cara had asked me a couple of days ago for a bio, but I didn't really know what to say. Apparently there's a Wikipedia page there, so it's great they can get the information off it. But thank you for the very kind intro. It's a little bit strange, the times that we're in, so I'm hoping everybody is doing well. It's even stranger to present in the environment that we're in. When you've got a large gathering of people online that we have now, it's kind of strange where you talk, but you don't really get feedback. So I'm hoping, my thought process in terms of putting the presentation together was to try and keep it light, but educational, keep people interested and engaged. I know we're going to do some Q&A throughout. We're going to break it up a little bit and do some Q&A throughout and at the end as well. I'm hoping, in terms of what we're talking about this evening, game management is something that I really like to discuss and talk about. It's a wide-ranging topic. I think it's fair to say that it's a very wide-ranging topic. So in all the times that I'm refereeing and presenting, I don't think I've done a game management presentation as such. So when I sat down to do the presentation, I'm like, where do we start? Where do I end? You know? So over the course of the week, I've asked friends and colleagues, refereeing friends and colleagues, different questions about game management and their thoughts. So a lot of my experience is here, but a lot of this is taken from some feedback from other officials that I work quite well with. So that's pretty much the background of it. So let's get it going to a degree. So again, just to give you a little bit of a brief, there's going to be some there's going to be text, there's going to be talking from me, obviously. The presentation has lots of video in it, and I understand that with the technology aspect of it, there may be a little bit of a lag on the video. So what I will do is I'll talk my way through the video. The video obviously will be related to the topics that we're talking about. I'll talk my way through the video, and that way it should make what we're looking at clearer. So yeah, let's power through with it. Okay, so game management. Let's kick it off. That's not me, even though at this moment in time I feel like my head looks like this guy's head, but it's not. So we're gonna have a video. It's very light humor, just an intro. All right, so I hope you enjoy that. That's just a light look at what we all do, whether it's at grassroots level, whether it's at college level, adult level, or at the professional level. What we do is very much geared around our personalities, and that on the field of play, in terms of the videos there, certainly comes out. So when I started putting this together, what I had asked myself was, what is game management? And I have my own idea on what game management. I asked other people, and this is a direct quote from a colleague of mine, because I think he answered it pretty much perfectly. So game management is managing players, managing game situations, as well as orchestrating the 90 minutes using the perfect balance of law and personality. And I think that captured pretty much what game management is. It sounds so simple, but the reality of it is a little bit different. So some of the key components to game management. Again, it's such a wide-ranging topic, and I think my first draft of this presentation has lots more slides, but I didn't want to complicate it too much. So as I worked on it, I kept breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down. So football understanding, communication and body language, player management, and restarts. I've put in restarts there simply because, look, we're going to focus very much on free kick management as our portion of restarts. From the top down, football understanding, it's a phrase that other colleagues of mine use from an international point of view. One of the heads at FIFA uses the phrase football understanding quite a lot, and it resonates with me. But we'll look at the area of football understanding, or knowing the game to a degree. The communication and body language part of it, for me, is an integral part of our game management. It's one of the key areas of it. And where communication and body language come into it, come into the player management side of it, again, I think the player management side of it has its own variation from the communication and body language part. And again, restarts, we will focus on, we'll focus on the area of free kick management. Okay. All right. So in terms of football understanding, or the phrase football understanding, to simplify it, it's our knowledge of the game, right? What we know about the game, the workings of the game, everything from game tactics, player tactics, coach tactics, referee approach, and the tactical approach to the referee part of the portion of the game. And if you, like me, I could have made these a little bit bigger, but never a good sign when you see referee putting a pair of glasses on. But what I wanted to, this captures the essence of a game, right? So understanding the game, the respect for a decision, the respect or the lack of respect for a decision, the changing coaching instruction, embarrassment, and that might be anything from a very one-sided game, players being embarrassed in terms of their own performance, the frustration aspect to it, losing a goal, injustice at a call, desire or retribution on a player for something that may have happened previously in the game or in the previous game, history between players or teams, the excitement, it could be fan orientated, it could be parent orientated at a game at any level, patience or a lack of patience, all leads back to the fact that no two games are the same. All right, the game that starts in the very first minute will not be the game that ends at 90 minutes. Okay, so the game will change throughout the course of the playing period, and it's how we manage that in between will determine the success or not of our own performance. Hope that makes some sense. All right. All right. So just give me a sec. So football understanding, right? So we're going to go into some clips in just a sec, but I put alertness and prevention. Okay, so alerting to what goes on, or to the potential change in the game, the preventative action that we take. What are we being alert to? Being alert to aggressive behavior, being alert to players on second cautions, some game-changing moments. Game-changing moments being a goal or penalty or a red card or something like that. Mobbing, mass confrontation, problematic coaches. So let's just look at the clip. So this is a very, very simple clip. All right, it's a simple ball into the penalty area, which results in a corner kick. Nothing's going on at the minute. And then all of a sudden, we've got two players that are confrontational. One player is being a little bit aggressive. Referee is there immediately. You would hope at this point that players' common sense take control, and these things generally calm themselves down. But the referee was very aware of it, reacted quickly, made his presence felt pretty quickly. Speaks to the player that's the less aggressive of the two. And then a minute or two, a couple of minutes later, reacts to the same player. You have the aggressiveness. But the referee's reaction is very, very immediate. Sees the challenge on the goalkeeper, blows his whistle immediately, makes his presence felt, and issues the caution to the players. But the referee's alertness was there. The awareness was there. Okay, we'll move on to the second one. So the second one is based around players on second cautions. Okay, so just have a look at the clip. We'll talk through it. Sorry, this is the game-changing incident. Game-changing incident being a goal. So being aware to the fact that after a goal is scored, at this, you'll see this clip here. It's 0-0 when this goal is scored. Goes to 1-0, and then the tempo changes. This particular clip is based around second yellow cards. So the first clip is shown after 8 minutes. Referee is very aware, sees the incident, is immediate, and then 10 minutes later, immediately knows that it's the same player that he's previously cautioned, and doesn't hesitate to issue the second yellow and the red. So with that particular clip, it's early in the game. Two of those cautions are early in the game, but the fact that the second one happens, the referee sees it, the referee reacts to it. There is no real flashpoint. You've got some players that would question the decision, but that's normal and natural in a game when the player is sent off. The referee keeps his composure really well. We'll talk about body language a little bit later on and the communication aspect, but it's difficult in a circumstance like that when you send off a player. And again, at any level of the game, it's a difficult thing to do to send off a player. But understanding that you're going to have a reaction from the team or the coaches, and having something prepared in terms of your words always helps. Okay. All right, this one is late in the game. There's a goal scored, and then we have this. The referee sees it. He's trying to be preventative. He wants to get in there quickly, and then realizes that maybe that's not the best thing to do. His angle of view, everything is limited. A little bit of silliness from players, but the referee, you can see, steps completely away from this to give himself a better view of it. And if you think back to what started this, blue team score, the blue team player goes into the net to retrieve the ball. It's not even his ball. We'll pause it on that for a sec. It wasn't even his ball to have. Okay, he's the attacking team. They score immediately. It's the defending team whose ball it is to bring it to the halfway line. So even at a professional level, the silliness that comes from players in this type of situation. If you look back at it, let's bring it back just a bit. When this happens, if you look at the top left-hand corner of the screen, it's 0-3, 88 minutes. okay, it's going to be 1-3, 88 minutes. The blue team, who have pretty much been outplayed for the course of the game, think that there's a ray of light there. There's some hope to get back into this, and the reaction is unnecessary. In actual fact, all the time that they had wasted with all of the craziness that went on in the penalty area, in the goal mouth, would have been best served for them if they were conscious of time by just leaving the ball and letting the ball come out naturally. But the main takeaway from this, from a refereeing point of view, bring it forward, pause it, is avoid, from a referee's point of view, I've paused it there where the referee is here. And to be fair, the referee thinks by getting in there early, he's going to prevent this escalating, and it doesn't. It doesn't prevent it. So the referee, the learning point or the teaching point here is, we see it, we react first of all, but once we realize that being there is not the best position for us to be, then stepping away, giving yourself a wider angle is the better approach to things. All right, moving on. Let's just play. So we have an award of a penalty kick. Referee goes, takes a look from a VAR point of view, and then comes back and awards the penalty kick. Now, we talk about player mobbing and so on. Players obviously aren't happy with the award of a penalty kick. Referee's personality is that of, well, look, this is a penalty kick. We've discussed it. Nothing's escalating into anything more serious than that. Referee is not returning. Listens to whatever the keeper has to say and then says, okay, now I've listened. It's still a penalty kick, and we'll move on. We talked about problem coaches, all right? So, again, at all levels of the game, you're going to have coaches that will question decisions. So let's just watch this first of all. Both benches are quite close. One coach from one team takes exception to what a coach from the other team says. Fourth officials is there, manages the situation quite well, is quite preventative, calls the referee's attention. Assistant is there, using his personality, using his experience. Again, this clip, you've got the coach questioning the referee. The referee says, okay, that's quite enough now. Bring this one back just a little bit and just pause it. So one of the most difficult things to do in terms of the game management aspect is the decision of from a referee to go and speak to a coach. Okay, we'll see another clip of that a little bit further on. But it's one of the most difficult things to do because you're kind of getting into a scenario where you prefer to avoid. But the referee has decided, this is my line. This is my line of acceptability. The coach has crossed that. So therefore, I'm going to go and I'm going to speak to the coach. I'm going to speak to the coach publicly, give the coach an opportunity to talk, listen to what the coach says, and then give the refereeing perspective on it. And then more often than not, you'll have to agree to disagree, because I don't think any coach that I've ever spoken to has agreed with everything I've said when we've come to speak. But you come to a mutual understanding. There's a point where you listen, and then there's a point where you talk. Okay, but doing so in the right manner, in a neutral, non-threatening way. And again, we'll touch on that a little bit further. But for the purpose of your game management, it's important that whether it's a player or in this case, whether it's a coach, constant questioning of your decisions It can be quite public. Doesn't matter what level of the game that we're operating at, okay? But there comes a time where you as a referee will have to draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough. I'm now going to speak to the coach. If it's something that you need to speak over. Communication is always the best course of action, first of all, unless, of course, a coach does something where a dismissal is warranted. Again, I hope that makes sense for people. Okay, again, sticking with football understanding and teamwork, okay? Again, whether you're operating at, look, I said earlier in the day, you can put me in a stadium with 60,000 people, and I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I wouldn't be fazed by that. But if you put me on a field with U10, 12 boys or girls, which I've done in the not too distant past, it can be quite intimidating. That smaller environment, that more open space, the parents are right there. I'm a parent. I've gone and watched my own kids play. There's always a parent that you can hear as a referee from the sidelines. Okay, but you operate in teams, even at that level. Okay, so in terms of teamwork, all right, and how your teamwork can assist with your game management. Okay, it's the recognition of the moods of the participants in the game, players, coaches. Okay, recognition of the offenders. Okay, when something happens, it may be off the ball, something like that. But recognizing the fact that it happens, it might be repeat offenders. Okay, in a particular game, and team members knowing the responsibility or knowing their responsibilities in the game. All it comes down to are pre-game discussions. Okay, and as the referee, from a referee to your assistant referees, it's all about giving clear instruction, clear guidelines of what you want from them should certain situations occur. Okay, but pre-game discussion is always key or a key component to the success of the team's game. But in terms of how can the team help with game management, this is it: recognition of moods, recognition of the offenders, knowing their responsibilities. To the detriment of the team, all right, when do they hinder game management, right? When they don't do the above, or when they don't communicate as above, okay? It's frustrating. It's frustrating if you come into a locker room post-game. I've had this even at a professional level, where one of your colleagues says, how did you not see player number 4, red, hit player number 5? That kind of thing. That information is useful, right, on the field of play. Absolutely useless in the locker room at halftime and full time unless you've acted upon it. That's just one example of it. Okay, so clear guidelines, clear instruction, clear expectations in the pre-game discussion. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to body language and communication. All right. So, for me, body language, communication, it really is a key component in a referee's repertoire, in our repertoire, when we go on the field of play. Okay. It really is key. It's how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, how you speak to players. You know, the listening aspect. All right. So what do we expect from verbal communication? We expect it from a referee for it to be calm, firm when needed. All right. Strong when needed. Message has to be clear. Okay. So if you're going to take time, let's go back to the coach clip a couple of minutes ago. If you're going to take your decision to go and speak to a coach, let the message be clear. Let the message be firm. Do it in a calm manner, but keep the language simple. Okay, I've put there. People listen. People listen when it's about them. Okay, what do we expect from non-verbal communication? We kind of expect the exact same thing. So the game is full of emotion. Okay, we have players who want to win. We have coaches who want to win. We have players and coaches that react differently when they're losing or maybe about to lose. If you go back to the components in terms of what changes a game, you know, players might be frustrated at your decision making. Okay, they might voice that quite regularly. But when we speak, right, or when we communicate with the players, we have to take the emotion out of the environment that we're in. Okay, we have to at all times be calm. I spoke about this earlier in the day, where sometimes within you're not really calm, but your external your external body language needs to be of a very, very calm demeanor, knowing what you're going to say. Okay, I always say having some simple lines prepared for that one-to-one communication aspect. You know, it might be something simple like, hey, look, I understand the frustration of being 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go, but by not focusing on your own game and by focusing more on my game, you're doing more harm to your team than good. You know, it could be something that simple. Those might be too many words for some people, but having something to say is better than having nothing to say. But always appear calm, be firm with whatever we need to say, if that's required. Have a clear message, all right? Keep the language very, very simple. And that is not me. Having something clear. All right. Okay, so part of the art of good refereeing is finding the right balance in decision-making, communication, and discipline. A referee's use of body language can establish relationships on the field with the players while also remaining in control of a match. You can show confidence, calmness, firmness, authority, or even a referee's human side if a player is injured, for example. So this goes back to you know, one of the clips earlier in terms of what I said at the very, very beginning of the game. You know, marrying the laws that that the game is governed by your personality, by your individual personality. No two referees are the same. Okay, so if you like that image that we have there of Ted, it's a very, very simple image, right? Hey, hold on, leave it to me. It could be something as simple as, hey, relax, I'm going to have a look at something, or don't come any closer. You know, it's a very clear message of what he's saying. He's asking someone to stop. Okay, so so my advice is very, very simple. Okay, we talked earlier on about being the conductor of an orchestra, and that's pretty much what you are. You're conducting what's going on here. So when a decision is made, all eyes are on you. Okay, so if your body language is that where you give a penalty, your shoulders are slumped, it creates some doubt. Players will see that. Players will react to that. But if you're confident in your decision, okay, then you're more upright and so on. That's just one example of what we're talking about on your body language and how it's communicated. Again, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so what type of body language do we use? What tone of voice should we use? Again, I've kind of made reference to that a little bit earlier. But neutral in content, conciliatory if situation needs it, compassionate, understanding, not threatening. Okay, so when we communicate, these are the things that these are the items that we should be that should be kind of foremost in our minds. All right, when we communicate, let's make sure that it's non-threatening. I talked about taking the emotion out of the decision-making process, the aftermath of the decision-making process. So, you know, it might be a parent's reaction, it might be the player's reaction, it might be the coach's reaction, it might be if it's a larger audience that you're refereeing in front of, it might be the fan reaction. But it might be something that a player says to you, okay, that you react to. right? So if you're going to respond to that, it's got to be neutral in content. It has to be non-threatening, okay? We're going to look at a video from the World Cup in Russia. This is very, very, again, very simple, very much in line with what we have been discussing. It's coach reacting, referee responding. In this particular clip, you can see the fourth official on the touchline, calls the referee's attention, says, I need you to have a word with the coach right here. I'm not sure if you can hear what's being said, but I'll repeat it. Calls the coach, nice and calm, and he's saying, watch the gestures, watch the comments. I want to keep you here in the technical area, but you have to work with me on this. And then responds by saying, hey, look, both players were holding in this situation. It's really not something to get worked up over. So again, just to play it again, just take a look at the referee in terms of how he approaches the coach. At this point, he knows he's not removing the coach, asks the coach to come. He goes, meets him halfway, delivers the message. It's clear. It's a nice, calm manner. It's quite firm. But the message and the language is very, very simple and clear. Doesn't have to, and as you can see, Mark doesn't stay there for, he's not telling a story here. He's delivering a message. He stays there for the appropriate amount of time, delivers that message clearly, Coach reacts and says, yeah, okay. Referee moves away. That's the appropriate amount of time that you need to be there. Don't need to get into a confrontational situation, and did so in a non-threatening manner. All right, sticking with body language and communication. All right, so every time the referee blows their whistle, they upset half the players and roughly half the crowd. I think that's a true statement. You give a penalty against one team, they're not going to tell you it's a great decision, ref. We think it's a penalty against us. So so one team is happy, one team is not. One coach is happy, one coach isn't. One set of fans or one set of parents are, and one aren't. So your body language, right? So body language skill transcends language barriers. Okay, so you might have players that don't speak English. It could be a simple case where how you conduct yourself gets the message across. It can be beneficial in a noisy match environment where verbal communication can be difficult. Okay, body language can have an immediate effect to reduce the need for a referee to stop a match to address an issue verbally. Okay, so just taking that one, body language can have an immediate effect, reducing the need for a referee to stop a match to address an issue verbally. There might be an advantage. There might be two players that have been left on the ground. Referee sees those players on the ground and just stops, stares, lets the players know that he's looking while at the same time playing an advantage scenario. So that look and that stare might be enough to prevent the players from reacting on the ground, and then play goes on as normal. Sometimes it can be difficult to address players' emotions in words, so the referee can use gestures instead. Again, that's players. It's an emotional game. All right, players are more emotional, obviously, than the officials are at times. So by not talking, just by using the body language aspect, can be as beneficial as words. So we're going to go into some questions in a second here. So I'm hoping that the body language and the football understanding has resonated, has struck a chord with you guys as you're looking in. If so, great. And if you can take one thing away from that side of it, or those aspects of it, into your games, then I'm happy to have provided something there. We're going to go into questions, I believe.
Yep, we're going to be starting with Ash Soccer, if possible. Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead. Ash, are you there?
Hey, Ash.
Okay. Do you want
Or
to move
not.
on to Michael, Kevin?
Yep, we'll go to Michael.
Okay. Michael Gula?
Hello.
Okay, Mike, go ahead. Michael, go ahead.
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Alan, thanks for joining us tonight. Dissent is my biggest pet peeve, and I'm guilty of reacting to players that get on my nerves, or simply after a bad day at work, going to a match and having that lingering. And I find myself more times than I like to admit that I react back to them, and it upsets me. It upsets my match. What are some of the strategies that you use to combat that? Because I'm always impressed with the league referees who don't react. It seems like they're immune to it.
That's a really good question, and it's one that we get asked quite often. And look, you have to understand that at an elite level, there has been years gone into this at every level. I can completely relate to what you're saying. I can completely relate to it, and if every referee is honest with themselves, I think they can relate to that as well, because look. We all have lives outside of football. It's very easy to say that when we walk across the white lines onto the field, that everything else is left in the background. But the reality is quite different, okay? I think in terms of your question, I think sometimes it's easier said than done. But when we do walk across the white line onto the field to officiate the game, we have to show a level of professionalism, or there is a level of professionalism expected of us that sometimes isn't expected of the players and the coaches, however wrong that might sound. So we're there to arbitrate the game, all right? And it's imperative that when we do, right, we remain, or we keep that level of professionalism that we should all hold ourselves to at a very, very high. We should set a really high bar for ourselves. Look, we're human, all right, and reacting is it's human nature. Some of the things I do is, like, in terms of when you make that decision, when you give a penalty, when you give a red card, when you give a game-changing decision, there is an expectation, right, from you as the official, that you are going to get some dissent from players. Okay, I hate saying it's part of the game, but it is. So you're expecting that, and you're waiting for it. I think the most difficult ones are the simple foul in the middle of the pitch, in the middle of the field, where everybody knows it's a foul, but one player just gets up and says something which kind of gets under your skin, and that's an easier one to react to. And I hope that makes sense. Because you don't expect it, therefore the reaction is quite unexpected, even from you as the referee. So it should those types of situations arise, it's a simple thing to say. Count to five, breathe, that kind of thing. Stop yourself from reacting that way, and then just say whatever you have to say yourself. I'm not going to tell you exactly what you have to say. That's up to every referee in their own time. But if it's something to the point where it's gotten under your skin, then if it's gotten under your skin, then it might be something that where disciplinary sanction comes in. But if it forces a real strong reaction from you, that's what you should be thinking. So I would think if it's a real strong reaction that way, maybe going card. I'm not advocate for going card straight away, but rather than shouting something or reacting in a manner that isn't expected of a referee, maybe that's the way to do it. I hope that makes some sense.
All right. Thank you, Alan. I think we're going to try to go back to Ash if possible.
Ash, go ahead and speak. You're unmuted.
Great. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alan, for dropping the knowledge during this crazy time. So my question really relates to the inevitable act of making a decision that you second guess. And sometimes we get into our heads and constantly second guess a decision we make. And how do you rebound from something like that where your head gets into it and you question whether or not you made the right decision?
Hey, Ash, thanks for that. Yeah, really good point. Refereeing is littered with that self-doubt. It's an occupational hazard. What I'll say, and I'll try and keep this as simple as I can, okay? The most important decision is the next decision, okay? There's nothing that you can do about what you've done. If you, as a referee, again, we're all guilty of it. I know I'm certainly guilty of it, or have been guilty of it, that where you make a decision, you see it, you react, you give a decision, players respond negatively. You know, people say, oh, you can tell by player reaction. Not always. Players react negatively, and immediately you go into self-doubt mode, okay? So what I'll say is get yourself into the best position to see whatever you need to see, okay? You call whatever you have to call. You take whatever is coming your way in terms of the dissent, and you deal with it however you feel appropriate. But once it's done, right? The most important decision is the next one, because if you focus on the last one, you'll miss the next one. And that's as, you know, that's as simple and straight as I can be with it, you know? Again, easier said than done, but that's what we have to do. And again, that's relevant to all age levels, all grades of the game.
All right, thanks, Alan. We're just going to do one more this round, and Kevin Santiago.
Hey, Alan. I just want to say thank you for giving us, you know, the opportunity to tune in with us and, you know, help us out with all this. But I had a DA game where post game I was asking the referees to critique me, and they told me that during the games I tend to talk a lot to the players. So, you know, I'll constantly tell them, hey, watch this, watch that, and it'll get to the point where I'm repeating myself too much. And they were telling me that I need to find a way to kind of balance the levels of talking a player through a foul, and sometimes just blowing the whistle and just shutting up and not saying anything and just playing on with the game. So I've been struggling with a lot. Okay,
you just broke up at the end, Kevin, but I think I've heard you all the way through there. Okay, so like, yeah, one of the so I'm a big believer in communication, all right? But one of the key things is finding the right balance between not enough communication and too much, okay? Only you know what's right for you. Some is better than none. Too much might be too much. So what I would say is I'm not a big fan of explaining all my decisions, simply because if you do, it just invites more questions from players. If they see that you're open to that for every decision, then they'll just come and they'll ask every decision. So it's finding that right balance and that right blend between too little and too much. And it might be just a case of you know, if players are continuously questioning, you're just picking and choosing the ones that you need or that you feel will assist your game management, okay? It might be something that's a bit more contentious than, you know, a throw-in to the defenders or the attackers, you know, which is insignificant in the bigger scheme of things, okay? So you might have to just say to yourself, yeah, this one is the one I'm going to deal with because there's maybe a little bit more here. I'm going to stop the game might be stopped. Maybe you talk to the captain and you say, hey, look, hey, you're looking for this. I see it this way. That's it. And then you move on, you know. It doesn't have to be a whole big story. It's just something very simple. And my advice would be just to work on those one-to-one interactions. Okay. All right. I think we're going to move on into the player management side of it. All right. So like with the player management, I'm of the opinion that the player management and the game management, it goes hand in hand. Okay, it goes hand in hand. If you can get the players on your side, that's half the battle. Okay, the players. If you can develop a rapport, a trust with the players, so or you gain the players' trust. You gain the players' trust by your decision-making process at the end of the day. But if you can relate to a player, if you can speak to a player, if you can speak to a player on their level, you can find that right balance in terms of the last question Kevin asked, in terms of too much communication and too little. I think the players respond positively to that. So when does your player management begin? As soon as we arrive at the game venue. These are all very, very simple when you think about it, but we'll talk through it. So as soon as we arrive at the game venue. So when we arrive at the game venue, it might be teams that you refereed before. It might be teams that you've not refereed before. So creating that positive first impression, that can be anything from how you're dressed, how you present yourself. All right. So you as a referee or as the officiating team, when you arrive and when you're visible, some of that focus is on you at the very, very beginning. So creating that positive first impression. When we walk the field, we could be walking the field, inspecting the field. Players could be on the field of play. Something simple as a hey, how's it going? Something like that. You don't have to be best friends or anything, but an acknowledgement of the player, a simple greeting is much more beneficial than not. So if that opportunity is there, I would always encourage a simple greeting. As we warm up, just to give you an idea of even from an MLS point of view. So when we warm up in games, if you can picture the field, the halfway line, one team will warm up one side, one team will warm up on the other, but we have a section kind of 10 yards either side of the halfway line, close to the touch line, where we cone off. The reason that's there is that we didn't have a designated warm-up area, and as we were warming up as officials, goalkeepers were kicking balls, they were practicing kickouts, and balls were raining down, and guys were getting hit in the head unexpectedly, and all of that kind of stuff. So we were dodging footballs on the field of play. So we have this designated warm-up area, and sometimes the players want to come into that. So it's a case of, hey, you can come into it, but but the first free kick is going against you, that kind of thing. And it breaks the ice, So it's an opportunity to communicate. It's an opportunity to show the human side of you. It's an opportunity to, just engage before battle takes place. So again, if the opportunity is there, take it in a positive way. Before we walk out, so whether it's it could be a college game, it could be a kids game. I know when I go and watch my kids play, they line up. Referee goes through the teams and so on. A lot of those referees are younger referees, and I like to see the players engage, the officials engaging the players. And again, it's just simple words, but it breaks the ice. During the game, look, as I said, you will be judged on your decision-making process, and hopefully for the better. But creating a rapport with players, talking at the appropriate times. Some of the things that are said are very, very simple, but using those opportunities, again, I go back to repeating the balance side of it, finding the right balance between too little and too much, and where it's appropriate. After the game is finished, hey, look, you could have, I'll use myself as an example. I give a penalty in a game because I think it's an absolute penalty, and game is over. Let's just say this one hasn't decided the game or anything like that, but game is over, and you go and you take a look and you happen to see it again, type of thing. You go, oh well, and if the opportunity is there after the game to say, hey, keeper, I've seen that. It's easier for me to say it because our games are recorded and we have access to them. And if you have that, then great, immediately. But but just using that and just saying, hey, look, you know, I thought it was a PK. I've subsequently had a look. You do get a touch on the ball before you get a touch on the player. It's my bad, you know. I'm only human, and that's you as a referee admitting a mistake. It's very, very rare that a player or a coach will do the same for you. But that's one thing, and it could be just leaving the field. It could be leaving the venue that it's at, and it might be just a simple goodbye. You started it with a hello or a greeting, and this one is as you're leaving, and that could work in your benefit when you return to that same team or that same field to that same stadium to referee that team the next time. Again, hope it makes sense. How can player management assist or game management? You know, again, leads to a better rapport with players. I've kind of gone through that. Builds the trust, the research, like researching the players, studying the trends. If the ability is there to do that, then great. You know, if it's a potentially problematic, if you know it's a potentially problematic player, you don't judge that player at all, not before a ball is kicked. But you know that that's potentially coming down the line for you. So you're prepared for that. Effective communication, be impactful. Again, going back to the question earlier, and finding that balance. You know, if you're going to speak, make sure the message is clear and make sure it's impactful. Getting into an argument is kind of pointless. Nobody wins in that. You as a referee certainly don't win when you're kind of shouting over a player shouting over you. Doesn't look good. Nobody wins. And it allows the referee's game strategy to develop. So if part of your strategy is to get that message across firm early in the game, and it does, and the players respond positively, okay, then that's half the battle. You know, if you've got a decision to make, if you've got to communicate early to a player, then you know, that opportunity presents itself, then fine. It allows your strategy to develop. Then you've got the players on your side. You've got them working with you, and that's key to the success of the game, or not. We're going to look at a video here. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's 2 minutes and 53 seconds into the game. All right, so let's play it. So 2-3 minutes in the game. Simple, foul, touchline, quite close to the benches. Emotional reaction from the player. And we talked about an emotional reaction earlier on. So that's it. It's quite clear. It's a simple foul. Emotional reaction from the player. Referee is quite calm here. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Referee is quite calm, calls the player, lets the player calm down. Referee's body language is quite good. Explains, hey, that's not acceptable. Let's calm it down a little bit here. You can see that the players are responsive in a positive way. That little tap on the shoulder always helps. And then you move on. But that's 3 minutes into the game where the referee has decided, no, I don't really like that reaction from the player. I know it's an emotional outburst. We don't necessarily need to go to a caution on this. I'm going to set my bar quite high here, and I'm going to send a message to all of these players that kind of a reaction isn't acceptable. Speaks to the players, as we talked earlier. It's he takes his time. I know we had a question in terms of reacting negatively to a player earlier on. Gives himself the time for the player whose temperature might be up here. Gives the player an opportunity to calm down, and then once he's calm, then the referee starts to speak in a nice, calm manner, quite firm, but got his message across clearly, as you see by that simple tap on the shoulder. All right. Hope that makes sense. We move on to the next one. Again, video. If you look at a game clock, so it's 24 seconds into the game. All right, we're not we're not discussing the foul or anything like that. We're just looking at the referee. Just keep an eye on the referee, body language, in terms of everything. Position, he's right there. We're not talking about positioning, but he's right there. Sees it clean and clear. And then, so I'm going to just pause this in a sec and we'll talk through it. Okay, so I've paused it here for a reason. Excuse me. One is that the referee has an uninterrupted view of this. He sees it. He's very clear with it. His whistle is immediate. The card is absolutely warranted and issued. Excuse me. So the whistle tone is quite strong. The card is issued. Well, let's have a look at that. Card is issued immediately. All right. And now if you look next, right, this is 23, 24, 29 seconds into a game. So always at the beginning of the game, the players are more motivated. They're, you know, they've trained for the game all week. They've prepared well for the game. So you expect a reaction from the players. All right. But there is no reaction in this one here because look at it. You know, you got one player, that's fine. You know, it's quite a heavy tackle. Players come in, they ask the question. Referee is very calm in his demeanor. You know, one player comes in, referee explains himself. Then there's a gathering of bodies from both teams, but no reaction, no mass confrontation, no mobbing of the official because his position was sound, his whistle was strong, his delivery of the card was firm, sent a clear message to all of the participants, both the team in navy blue or black and sky blue, Kansas City and LA, that I've seen it, I'm here, this is beyond the limit for me, it's yellow card, and that's it. Okay, so the body language was strong, and the verbal communication was strong, and the visual with the card was delivered correctly. And again, early in the game, all right? Okay, moving on. It would help if I press play. So again, late in the game, 90 minutes, 0-0. So, you know, one team wants to win, home team wants to win. The away team are happy with a 0-0 draw. Tie. That is me. It was all right. So that part of it is my interesting is the interesting part of the clip. So just a bit of a backstory to it. It's late in the game, as I've already said, and we can see New York, Atlanta. Atlanta are happy with a 0-0. This is late in the season as well, but New York want to win the game. The player who picks up the ball and throws it away had been cautioned a couple of minutes earlier. So is already on a yellow card. And what he does, technically, he throws the ball away. Technically, he delays the restart. Technically, in terms of law, you could produce a yellow card for that. Would you produce a second yellow card? I chose the decision not to because I believed it was better from a game management point of view. I lose more than I gain there. But just by going and running next to the player, let's bring it up to that. This is one of those ones where you don't need to. You can just calm the situation down. Don't need to produce a caution. Tell the players, yeah, I've got this. And just by kind of running alongside the player, it's a very, very simple opportunity, an easy opportunity for me to say to the player, hey, don't do anything silly here. Again, all right, that's your free pass used up there. You're already on a yellow card. So I've now helped you kind of helped me by not doing something like that. And that's it. It's an opportunity just to talk to the player on their level. Okay, that's the reason for that. We are I think we are going to go into another Q&A session. before we go into the area of free kick management and restarts?
Just 1 second there, Alan. But yes, we have a couple questions here.
Okay, thank you, Alan. First, we're going to go with Amelia.
Amelia, go ahead.
Hi.
You're unmuted.
Thanks. Hi. Thanks for talking to us. So my question it's a little bit with game management, but mostly with player management, and that I'm very short. And oftentimes, especially when I'm repping boys or like the adult co-ed leagues, I'm the shortest person on the field. And so the question is, how would you deal with instances of dissent, or when you have some bad actors and you need to have a discussion with them without sort of like, you're like scolding them, looking straight up, and you're still being taken seriously?
Okay. So what I would say is, if it's more of a concern in terms of your height or whatnot, creating more distance between you and the player assists from that point of view, but the message will always remain the same. So rather than going right up to the player, if that's your concern, stay a little bit further away. But in terms of your delivery of the message, the content of your message, that's what I would say always stays the same. So look, again, only you know what to say in terms of the situation that presents itself. But if it's one of those ones where it's just a quiet word, then you deliver that message the same way, quiet word. If it's something that needs to be a bit more firm, and you need to have that player stood there for you to, publicly address them, and your concern is, well, they're much taller than I am, then just create a little bit more space, would be my suggestion. But the delivery of the message doesn't change; it stays the same. Amelia, I'm hoping that helps in some way. But at the end of the day, whether you're 6'4" as opposed to 5 foot nothing, then how you call the game, how you conduct yourself, how you communicate, that's what players will judge you by, not your height.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to move to Ben S.
Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, Alan. I think it's awesome having such high-level officials speaking with us here. So again, another player and game management type thing.
Hey Ben, sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure whether everyone can hear you or not. I can't. I can hear you very, very, very low, but you're cutting in and out. There seems to be plenty of interference.
I can actually read Ben's question for you if that would be easier.
Yeah, unless Ben wants to have another go just to see.
Let's see. Is this better?
Oh.
That's better. Perfect.
Perfect.
AirPods. So again, I was just saying thank you for doing this. It's awesome seeing such high-level officials speaking with us. So again, on player and game management, obviously a referee never wants to lose control of a match or feel like a game is starting to get away from them. So how would you, any tips on finding that balance between, letting things go while, and, and letting the game flow and not wanting to, break up the game too much while also calling the fouls that need to be called? Like not trying to insert yourself into the game that much and just letting the game play out as it should.
Sure, Ben, thank you. Yeah, okay. So this is very dependent on the game and very dependent on the referee's abilities and in a number of ways. One, identifying when the tempo of the game goes up or whether the tempo has kind of remained the same for a period of time. And then, the game demographics in terms of score, time, incidents in the game. One of the things I see quite a lot is, especially when I go and watch my kids play, is that if there's no questioning of anything on the field. So I see lots of fouls happen on at games, but the players don't question and the coach doesn't question. And the referees are happy to play on because nobody seems to be looking for it. Parents aren't looking for it. So just dealing with at that level for the time being. But taking that mentality and bringing it into a higher level game, just because the players aren't looking for something doesn't necessarily mean that the fouls aren't there. Okay, so I'm not saying that you have to go and call everything that's not being looked for. Again, it's a fine balance. What I would always say is never ever jeopardize your game control. Okay, if the opportunity to play advantage is there, great, but let everybody know that you've played advantage. Acknowledge the fact that, hey, I've seen that foul, but I see a clear advantage, so therefore let's just play there. Players will appreciate that. They'll, rather than, look, some players won't even recognize the fact that you've acknowledged it. But never jeopardize your game control, okay? Once the tempo of the game starts to rise and you see these, what we call simple fouls, give the simple foul. If it's late in the game and it's 1-0 and the team are at 0 are really pushing for the equalizing goal, and there's this constant push. You see a foul, give it. And if it's 5 simple fouls in the space of a minute, then in order to maintain your game control, give those fouls. Manage that situation accordingly. If it's a less high tempo game, and if it's a game where, you see the foul, you acknowledge it, you play the advantage, and so on, then fine. Or you just give those fouls. So again, finding that balance between, calling it, not calling it. But I would certainly say that the game and the contents of the game, the demographics of the game come into play a little bit. Again, if you just look at the screen, even that game's a couple of years old. I still remember that was high tempo. The last 6 or 8 minutes were stop, start, simply because that's what the game required. If there was a simple foul needed, a simple foul was given. No chances were taken. But if it was less high tempo and you see that simple foul and the opportunity to talk your way through it is there, take the opportunity, but not every time, and get that balance right. So I hope that answers it for you, Ben.
All right, Alan, we're just going to do one more for this one, and then we'll move on. Rebecca Greenberg, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for talking to us again. My question is about game management. And so in the beginning, like you were saying, how you're supposed to wait a certain amount of time for the player to kind of cool down. I was wondering if there were specific cues or how you know that they are calmed down without delaying the game too much.
That's a really interesting question and a really good observation. Where do I start with this one? Okay, so I'll give it to you purely from my point of view in a professional game. Okay, one, we know the players quite well, and that we've officiated them either regularly or semi-regularly. So we know the personalities. Okay, and when we know the personalities, it's probably easier to know what to expect. The time of the game always helps, but. Look, one thing I will always give a player, I'll always give the player the opportunity to vent their frustration. Let's say I give a free kick against somebody, he doesn't agree with it, he wants to let me know that he doesn't agree with it. Once he does it in a manner that's not massively disrespectful, you give them the 5 or 10 seconds, you give them the opportunity to get their point across, you let them know that you're listening to them, and then my reaction to that is, okay, I've listened to you, all right? And I've not interrupted you. Now you listen to me and don't interrupt. And I'll explain what I've seen. If I think that's an opportunity to get this guy on my side, and I'll explain the situation. I'll always finish with, hey, look, you might not agree, and you probably don't. You see it one way, I see it the other way. And now we're going to have to learn to agree to disagree and live with each other for the next whatever period of time that's there. You know, I think once a player knows that he or she has been listened to, irrespective of the answer that they get back, I think that always helps. But giving that period of time, giving it that 5 seconds, that 10 seconds, which might feel like an eternity at that particular time, is a benefit for sure. Okay, let's move on. We're going to move on to restarts, and more specifically the free kick management aspect to it. This is the last area that we're going to talk to, and we're going to go back to some more questions, either on this topic, what we talked about this evening, or questions that you have of a more varied nature. I'm happy to do both, but we'll move on to the restarts and free kick management side of it. Okay, so free kick management. I know it's very simple, but for the purpose of this presentation, two main types of free kicks. You've got your quick free kick, and you got your ceremonial free kick. Okay, quick free kick being. Let's go into the considerations first of all. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so in terms of considerations, like were your management skills effective in controlling the restart of play? Do you indicate to the kicker to wait for a signal to restart play? Do you succeed in ensuring that the defensive wall retreats 9.15 meters, 10 yards, and remains so? Okay, so we'll look at some video, right? And then we'll come back and we'll circle back and we'll talk about it. So this video is specific to the first three, these first three components. Okay, so it's turn on the volume. All right, this is a simple free kick. I'm going to pause it here. Come on, pause. All right, so we talked about ball position, 9.15 meters, whistle to restart or not kind of thing. All right, so if you look at this, I think everybody knows. But if you look at everybody knows what's coming here. All right, we're looking at the player, the defending player in blue that's closest to the ball. First of all, is that player 10 yards from the ball? Doesn't look like it, does it? Did we get that player, as a referee, did we get that player back 10 yards? Did we say to that player, the player that's kicking the ball, hey, you know, wait for me to give the signal, first of all? But more importantly, did we get the attacking player who, you know, who is entitled to the 10 yards distance? Did we do that? That's what we should be thinking at. And of course, didn't look 10 yards, did it? And then before the free kick was taken, the player encroached the another yard or so. If you look at the referee, I hate talking about position of officials and so on, but if you look at the referee, gives a signal for the player to come back a little bit, has his hand out there, is looking at the player. The player's got has got both hands up to say, yeah, hey, look, I'm 10 yards. I think. And now the referee's not looking at the ball. Okay, so the focus, you know, from the referee's perspective is the danger zone, the drop zone, that area in the this area of the penalty area where that ball is going to go. So this is the danger area, but this guy here should be back. So even though it's some distance from goal, stepping out that 10 yards, you know, is key. Okay, because this guy, even though he doesn't look it, but once he takes the free kick, he feels a little bit aggrieved that this guy, the defender, has come closer and then gives away the free kick. Gives away the free kick. So that attacking option to deliver a ball into the penalty area has been taken away by not controlling the 10-yard distance. All right. Are we taking too long to restart on ceremonial free kicks? So ceremonial free kicks, like the one we've just seen there, where whistle goes, we take the time to get everybody back 10 yards, we take up our own positions, we give the whistle to restart. Are we taking too long? Let's have a look at the next clip. Again, I'll talk my way through it. Foul is given. Whether it's a foul or not is completely debatable, but that's not what we're here to discuss. The clock is here for a reason. So, free kick is given. Defending team in red has decided to stand over the ball. So what I would be saying here is, you know, once that's what defending players will do, right? They'll stand close to the ball. They'll not want the free kick to be taken. Okay, reassure them, hold the whistle up, and say, guys, move back. Nothing happens until until the whistle until the whistle goes. So there's no need to stand 2 yards from the ball. We all know what 10 yards is. So move it back. Clock is still running. Got the players back. You still see these players here coming forward a little bit. But how long? 57, 58, 59, 60 minute, 61 seconds, 62 seconds. That's an awful long time for that free kick to be taken. All right. So 62 seconds, right? That's 62 seconds. That's a lot of time lost in organizing the free kick, taking control of the free kick. Are we taking too long at the restart? So free kick is awarded. You move in. The players that are standing quite close to the ball, you reassure them. Nothing will happen until the whistle goes. Move back, retreat, get them back as far. They're not going to go 10 yards, but get them back as far as you can get them back before you start stepping out that wall. Once you start stepping it out, my simple advice would be, they're not going to be 10 yards. They might be 6, right? You get to 6, you stop alongside them and you say, hey, 4 more, let's go. And then you continue to walk, okay? As opposed to just going all the way past them and then blowing your whistle repeatedly, trying to get them past when they have no interest in doing so. Again, hope that makes sense. That speeds up the process. Sorry, I'm going to come back to this. Don't worry. All right, I'm going to come back to this, right? So is the ball placement acceptable? So we've got 3 clips to use and some considerations here, right? Is the ball placement acceptable? Did the defender try to impede a quick restart? Did the player provoke a confrontation by deliberately touching the ball after you had stopped play? Were disciplinary sanctions correctly applied? Should you allow a quick free kick in this situation? Okay, so all of these apply to the last 3 clips, and we'll just play them continuously. Simple free kick awarded, player stopped it. All right, player wants to take his free kick, he's entitled to, and the offending player decides to put his foot out and block the ball. All right, that's a very easy one. Let's try and be as preventative when we can. We give that simple free kick. You see the player in close proximity, just shout or use the whistle to move back before that quick free kick happens, if you can. Next one is in terms of kicking the ball away after the whistle, as opposed to the previous one where it was preventing it. This one is just blatantly kicking the ball away. Attacking team, play breaks down, referee gets in the way a little bit, gives the free kick, and then the defending player decides to kick the ball away. Okay, so if you're there and you can be preventative, use your voice, use your whistle, use your personality, whatever the case may be, right? That's a silly yellow card for the player to pick up just by doing something very, very silly. See it in the replay. or maybe not. And we're not going to look at this clip because we're going to go on to the next one, which shows a better quick free kick scenario. Okay, so what can we allow a quick free kick? The free kick is taken quickly after play is stopped, i.e. matter of seconds. And I've got a video to demonstrate, okay? The ball is stationary and at the place of the offense. Ball's not moving, okay? It's important that we have that. Make sure that if you're going to allow a quick free kick, especially in an attacking area, make sure that the ball is stationary, okay? Ball should be stationary, but if it's a back in the defensive third and somebody just wants to take the quick free kick in a non-threatening area, then that's something that's more manageable. But in an attacking area, make sure the ball is stationary. The free kick requires no management by the referee. So free kick, the offense happens, the whistle goes, player stops the ball, player plays it. It's that quick scenario. Referee has not yet started to control the wall. So if you as a referee, especially with the new amendment to the law, if you as a referee decide, okay, there's going to be sanction here, there's going to be a yellow card, and you start reaching for that yellow card, then that's enough because defenders see that and they kind of switch off. So once you have decided that that's the action, and once you've started that process, you're not to allow that quick free kick, only the ceremonial free kick at that point. Manage that situation clearly, okay? Make sure a player is not injured and requires no attention. If the player is down and injured, might require attention, don't let the quick free kick. Don't let the quick free kick take place, okay? All right? When a player is not injured, manage the situation and manage that free kick, especially in the attacking area, I can't stress that enough. All right, and we will look at a video to demonstrate quick free kick. So there's two potential fouls in this one. It's the second one. So that's foul number 1, advantage. Foul 2, referee gives it. Player decides, yep, sees the guy free and plays it. So it has to happen that quickly. Foul now. Player decides to stop it. Stationary. It's that quick. I'm going to play that through from the start. Advantage. Foul. Gives it. Hand on the ball. Stationary. That's a quick free kick. And anything other than that, okay, must be ceremonial. Okay? All right. Okay, so ceremonial free kick setup. Take up the correct position. Monitor the ball, the wall, the drop zone, the assistant referee. That's what you're looking for. If a defensive wall exists, of 3 defenders or more, right? Ensure the attacker is a minimum of 1 yard away. I've got a visual just to show you. That's the new amendment to the law. So if it's 3 defenders or more in the wall, then the attacker doesn't stand in the wall. Okay. Signal that the free kick may be taken. If the defender advances from the wall where the kick is being taken, retake the free kick. If a goal is not scored, yellow card the defending players. Ensure that the ball is placed in the same position for the retake and follow the same procedure. So there's your typical ceremonial free kick setup. Okay, you've got ball behind this guy. You've got referee. You've got the defensive wall. This is an old clip, so this guy was allowed to stand there, but he's not allowed anymore. But again, I'll have a visual to show you there. Okay, so you've got goal. You've got ball. Defenders, goal, an additional assistant referee. All right, this is a European game, so these are the guys behind the goal, but your assistant referee is over here. But you've got everything in view, which is the main thing. Please don't worry about that guy in the wall. I'll explain the difference later. So that's your typical ceremonial free kick setup, okay? don't let the wall advance. That's the main thing. All right, we're almost at an end. What I'm talking about in terms of the players, so you can see it here, red defending team, they've got 4 players in the wall, okay? So as long as you have 3 or more defending players in the wall, this guy in black, right, can't stand at the end of the wall, okay? Cannot stand at the end of the wall. All right, attacking team player in the correct position at 1 meter, 1 yard from the defensive wall. So there's your defensive wall. It's got more than 3 people in it. And this space is what needs to be created in terms of your free kick management at your ceremonial free kick. Okay, so that is pretty much it, right? What we've discussed is in terms of good game management, football understanding, alertness and prevention, teamwork, body language and communication. We put personality in there as well. Player management, effectiveness at restarts. Okay. We are at 8:30. Okay. So that is pretty much all I have in terms of the presentation. I hope, first of all, thanks for everybody. I understand there was quite a large number of people that had registered for it. Hopefully you found this beneficial in some way. I really hope that you have, and that you've gotten something out of this to take into your next game or games, whenever those games will be, hopefully soon, but only when it's safe, okay? I'd like to thank you for your participation, and hope everybody remains safe and healthy. I'm happy to stay and answer questions either on what we discussed or football related questions in general.
Okay, great. I think we're going to have time for a few more before the Kahoot. So if we could start with Jackson.
Sorry, Alexandra, I can't hear you.
Oh.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So is Jackson there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but I can't hear Kevin or Alexandria, or if that was a question.
Huh. Kevin, do you want to go to the Kahoot and then we can try to
Yep, let's go with Kahoot and we can loop back then. So Tom, are you ready? Let's just go that. Hold on 1 second.
Lost audio.
I'm ready to go, Kevin. So we're going to go through now and try to figure out the questions after that.
Yep, go ahead.
Hit your Tom.
So if anyone has not played Kahoot before, it's just a simple quiz game. I'm going to share the information on my screen. And as you see, you go to kahoot.it,
winning MLS Cup, leading the man,
and then enter in this code. You can also download the Kahoot app. This is a quiz game. There will be 10 questions. You'll each have 4 potential answers. You answer whichever one you think is best. And at the end, we're going to have a prize. Thank you to USOfficials.com and the New England Premiership for sponsoring our contest.
Returned in late August.
I just noticed in the background the video. These are highlights from the 2016 MLS Cup. Alan was, of course, the referee, and earlier in the presentation he talked about talking to players before the walkout, and you saw him interacting with the captains before they walked out onto the field.
Forcing the first save of the night out of Stephen Fry. They need to do a lot more of that in this second half. Alonso had that ball ran away from him. Torres closing up. It's kept in play. It's Shevchenko who mishit it wide. Michael Bradley to send it in. Bradley's ball. Fry stays at home. It's in front. Fry got there in front.
Give everybody a few more seconds to log in. Once again, you can do it on your phone or in your browser, but the questions will be displayed on this screen where you currently see the pin number, so make sure you're able to see that, especially for the first question, which will have a visual element.
And a comfortable save in the end for Stephen Fry, his 4th of the night.
It's a short 10 question quiz. After that, we'll get back, hopefully, 2 questions for Alan.
Altidore bodying up as is Mora. Ricketts hits it just wide.
And I don't think we'll make it all the way through the highlights from this game, but you won't miss anything as there were no goals scored in regulation. As I'm sure Alan remembers as he got to go 120 minutes on a freezing night in Toronto.
Lays up a really nice cross for Josie Altidore. Stephen Fry comes back right here. He gets his feet set. That's what allowed him to save. And then he powers off that left leg. And on top of that, a strong left wrist. Here is the save. Again, Josie Altidore leaps
All right,
up.
we're going to get
Have a look at
started.
that. The ball's behind him. Gets
Oh,
Stephen
we'll see a
Fry.
few names coming in.
Off the bar. And Seattle now a kick away from winning it.
Well, at this point, we might as well watch the end of the highlights.
Lasmaro runs up there. He wanted to go straight down the middle the entire time. And now an opportunity with his foot to win MLS Cup for Seattle, which he
Well,
has
we'll
done.
see who gets to celebrate like Roman Torres at the end of our Kahoot quiz. Thank you to US Officials and the New England Premiership for sponsoring. So first question, please identify Ireland on this map. Is it A, B, C, or D? It is C. So Alan, you can be proud that the majority of the people got that one right. Some people might have been thrown off by D being in green. Kieran is our leader after the first question. And
It's not quite showing correctly.
Oh, I apologize for that. Alex, did that change anything? No, it didn't. Well, give me a second, everybody. Sorry about that.
We'll see who had lucky guesses.
Yeah, not a lot of guesses overall. Does that look any better, Alex?
There we are.
Okay.
We had
So
some people get the right answer.
Yeah, but hopefully it doesn't screw up the algorithms too much. Well, and the same person, Kieran, is in front. Question 3, which was not an original MLS team in 1996? Houston Dynamo, New England Revolution, Colorado Rapids, or the Columbus Crew? Well, the majority got that one right. The Houston Dynamo, not an original club. They were originally the San Jose Earthquakes before they moved, and glad to see that New England, for our Massachusetts people, was the lowest vote getter. No change at the top. When is the ball in play at a corner kick? When it leaves the corner area, when the second player touches the ball, when the ball fully rotates, or when it is kicked and clearly moved? It is when the ball is kicked and clearly moves. Vast majority of people got that one right. And we have a new leader as Jun Park moves into the top spot. Which of these is not a consideration for dissent? Periwinkle, public, provocative, or personal? Now, that was a pretty simple one, but definitely a topic that Alan touched on. And dissent is certainly a big part of game management and managing the players. Kieran sneaks back into the top spot. A player in an offside position can legally receive the ball from which restart? An indirect free kick, a throw-in, a direct free kick, or a drop ball? It is a throw-in. It can be offside on any of the other three. The Republic of Ireland national team reached the quarterfinals of what World Cup? 1986, 1990, 1994, or 1998? It was 1990, knocked out by the hosts Italy in the quarterfinals. And John moves up into the top spot. Which is not a reason to stop showing the indirect free kick signal after the kick has been taken. We had a recent law change with this. The ball goes out of play, another player touches the ball, the kick was in the defending half of the field, or it is clear that a goal cannot be scored directly. The correct answer is that it was not in the defending half of the field. The recent law change said that you can't put your hand down if it is clear a goal will not be scored directly. Two more questions left. Which one of these is largest by area? The center circle, the corner area, the goal area, or the penalty area? Is the penalty area 44 yards wide and 18 yards tall. People are always surprised. You could fit an entire basketball court inside the penalty area. And of course, both sports are officiated by 3 officials. John just with a 10-point lead over Kieran going into our final question. Which team won the 2018 MLS Cup? Alan Kelly was the referee for this match. Portland, Toronto, Atlanta, or Seattle? Atlanta was the winner. Seattle has won recently, but Atlanta was the winner in 2018. Get a look at our podium. Ryan Block in 3rd place. Jordan Park in 2nd. And Kieran Starwood at the top of the podium. Congrats to Stephen Elliott for 4th and 5th. Once again, apologies for the issues on the second question, but guess what? We'll be back next week with another Kahoot quiz, so make sure you come back and hopefully everybody will see all 10 questions. So we're going to open it back up, hopefully, for a few more questions for Alan.
Fortunately, Alan's having technical issues and can't hear us. He can talk, but getting him the questions are going to be difficult. So what we'll do is that we'll get some questions overall submitted to the form. We'll get him to answer those, and we'll play that at the. Can you hear us, Alan?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, Alan's back. So guess what? We're going to have questions. So.
Just when you thought you guys were getting off a little bit early.
Okay.
Thanks for making it back, Alan.
Technology.
Kevin, are we ready for Jack?
Yes, we are. Go ahead. Okay. First question goes to Jackson Krauser. Jackson, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes. So I was wondering, a lot of us do youth 4th officials, And for some of us trying to advance, the most likely position we'll get on a USL game or PDL game would be like a fourth official. So what would you say is the biggest difference between being a fourth official for an amateur game versus a professional game? And also, what are like 2 or 3 go-to phrases that you would use? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. The intensity of the game, I suppose, will be a little bit higher. The speed of the game will be a little bit higher. The questioning of the decisions will be probably a little bit more than you had been used to. But in terms of coaches and fourth officials, again, I used the word balance earlier on in terms of too much, too little. Give coaches their opportunity to have their say. A coach will always want to engage the fourth official. That has been my experience. So if a coach feels that he can engage and will get an answer on every question, he'll continue to engage. And a lot of that time is just, it's pointless dialogue because it's just questioning for the sake of questioning, and it just opens you up to potential argument. So pick and choose your moments to talk. Always do it, as I said earlier on, always do it in a respectful manner, non-confrontational, get your point across. And again, using the line, hey, look, we'll probably end up having to agree to disagree, but here's your point. Here's the point from the officiating side. Hopefully we meet somewhere in the middle.
Okay, great. If we could go to Asad Omanovic next.
Hey, Alan, good to see you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I have a question in regards to game management.
Okay.
In your opinion, what's the biggest challenge that you've had in terms of game management, player management, and what's your advice with dealing with that?
Wow. My biggest challenge. One of the most difficult situations I was in was a number of years ago, where I was a FIFA referee 3-4 years in. It was U21 level. It was a playoff game, second leg. And one team just lost all discipline. They were losing, going out of the competition, and lost all discipline to the point where they had 4 on-field players sent off for situations that were just unmanageable, i.e. hands on a referee, hands on an assistant referee, situations of violent conduct off the ball. It was just really not a nice place to be. There was a lot of soul searching in the locker room after the game, I can assure you. That's probably the most difficult experience I've ever had, and huge learning experience. I learned more that night than probably the 3 years that had gone before that from a FIFA perspective. I genuinely thought my career was over on that particular night. But thankfully, the authorities saw sense, saw the indiscipline from one particular team, punished them accordingly. And but yeah, I wouldn't wish that type of thing on anyone. No matter what I did to try and bring those players down, they were gone beyond the point of communication. That's probably the most difficult experience I've had. But sticking to the core values, sticking to what your principles are, sticking to what you believe in, was kind of the mantra throughout that. That all happened in a 9-minute period, by the way, towards the end of the game. So it was quite crazy. But sticking to what got you there, sticking to all that kind of stuff, it helped me manage it as best I could, and lots of takeaways after.
Thanks, Alan. Right now we're going to move to Francesca Honey. If I know that you asked 2 questions, if you could ask the question about working with ARs. Do you remember that question that you asked?
Yes. What would you advise when dealing with an assistant referee who is confrontational with a coach or a player or player? Could you give advice on what to do in this situation when you have an assistant referee who's confrontational with a coach or a player?
Sure. Again, what I would go back to is pre-game discussion. Okay. Being clear on our expectations. So you as a referee, being clear in terms of what the expectations are of your officiating crew. Specifically in terms of the communication aspect with the coach or a player. I will always make reference to, if I'm an assistant referee and I'm AR1 close to the benches and there's continuous dialogue coming from the coach to the AR. It's simply put, I would say that the AR brings it to the attention. If the AR can handle it in a non-confrontational way, i.e. coach, hey, you said what you needed to say. If you continue to behave like that, I'm going to have to bring the referee over. If it gets to the point where that would be my only communication as an AR. If it gets to the point where that coach is continuously being abusive, then my instruction to the AR would be not to get involved, to call me across. If there's a disciplinary sanction required, yellow carding the coach or red carding the coach that we can do now, that would be it. If it gets to that point, that's what I would say. That would be my preference from my assistant referee, not to be confrontational. As I said, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. Getting involved in a discussion or an argument, either one time or repeatedly, will solve nothing. If it gets to that point, get the assistant referee, call the referee over, dismiss the player or coach if that's what's needed.
Okay, Alan, thank you. I also just want to ask, in addition to her question that she just asked, because I know in the notes that she submitted, it was a little bit beyond that. If you are working with a referee as the AR, if you're the referee and the AR is kind of not listening to what you're saying, do you have recommendation for that? Or
wow, yeah, I would hope that never happens. Yeah, that's a really difficult one. But you as the referee, if your colleague is not behaving in a professional manner, I don't think I've ever seen this, but I have heard about it once or twice. If your colleague isn't behaving in a professional manner, you've had a discussion with your colleague, and you feel that the colleague is being detrimental, is behaving in a manner that's not responsible, then you finish the game with no assistant referees and you report that accordingly. That would be the way that I would handle it. I'm not sure whether that's the right way, but you can't continue the game with one AR and not two. So you move the one AR out, report it to whatever relevant authority is responsible for the assigning of games. That's a really difficult one for me to ask because I've never encountered it before, but I think I have many years ago. I heard something like that where it got confrontational on the touchline. The assistant referee wouldn't calm down. Referee was left with no option, I think, than to say, okay, I'm just going to finish the game here with one AR, with no ARs.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Yes.
Last question. I know a lot of people have it on their mind, so I'm going to go to Josh Few, and he's going to answer or ask it. Thank you.
Evening, Alan. Thanks again for your time. What have you found the biggest difference between the European game and the US game, and how have you managed to adapt to that transition over time?
Hey, Josh. Thanks for the question. It's the game itself, in terms of the style of play, is a little bit different. Much more. There's a much more tactical approach and a technical approach to it. Like, I suppose back in Europe, domestically in Ireland, I've said this before. There's a really good standard, but the style of play is different than what it is in the US, where they play the ball on the ground a lot. There's a lot of back to front, moving the ball quickly from back to front. The European game from a Champions League is a much more slower approach. And the US game is probably it's somewhere in the middle of that. the athleticism in the was something that really stood out in terms of domestic competition as well. But yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on tactics, a lot of emphasis on the technical side of the game. I had to get used to different terms like setting picks at free kicks and corner kicks and something like that, term that I'd never encountered from a European point of view. I know that's very much more in the U.S. sporting culture. But the game itself isn't much different. I've really been impressed with the level of play in MLS in terms of how it's improved over the course of even the 6 years that I'm here. I think it's been a huge improvement year on year.
Thank you immensely, Alan, on behalf of the New England Premiership and US officials. This has been really enlightening, and hopefully we can have you back at some point. This would be awesome. But thank you immensely.
Kevin, thank you. It's my pleasure. And look, as I said, it's been really enjoyable. You've been putting together a presentation, giving a presentation, listening to the questions, and I thank people for their participation. And thank you guys for the work you've done behind the scenes. I know in the area of on the technology side, there's a lot goes on behind it, even in the organizing. So thank you for the kind invite, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks again. Also, thanks to Tom Felice and Alex White-Gillies for their help, their invaluable help with this. Next Thursday, we're going to be hosting FIFA assistant referee and national coach Kim Oberle, who will be talking about offside considerations. Registration for Kim's seminar is right now open at USOref-Kim, K-I-M, Oberle, O-B-E-R-L-E, 1, the number 1, .eventbrite.com. Alternatively, you can go to the eventbrite.com website and search for Kim Oberle, and it will pop up. Right. But thank you all for participating. We really appreciate it. Thank you to US officials and to the New England Premiership for sponsoring this. From the very start, we also want to give a quick shout out to the Needham tournament where the academy actually started. Thank you all. Have a good night and enjoy the montage.